Alright, this is going to be a tutorial on how to create a white noise frequency sweep in conjunction with the Teenage Dream project, but I'm going to first create the white noise sweep generator all by itself. So first I'm going to create a new track. And you'll notice that I have a couple things already in place here. It's easier for me to stay in the screen instead of having to flip back and forth to the mix window. So I've included inserts. It would normally come in without the I/O and without the inserts. So I'm going to go ahead and put the inserts in and the I/O in. Next thing I want to do is insert multi-mono plugin, other signal generator. It's going to come in as a default as a sine wave, so we're going to go ahead and switch that to the white noise generator. Alright, that's going to get pretty annoying very quickly, so I'm going to go ahead and hold the shift key down, click on this, and I'm going to bring in EQ 7-channel. This is to set up the EQ sweep. I'm going to employ both the high-pass filter and the low-pass filter. I put them at 24 dB slope so we can get a very sharp cutoff on both ends. And I'm going to sweep this all the way down as low as it'll go. So we've got a bell-shaped curve allowing the frequencies to pass in this shape. Next thing I'm going to do is turn on the automation for both of these knobs, and I'm holding down the Control Option Command, all three, and clicking on that, turn on Enable, and enable that. You notice this little LED comes on to indicate that they're in automation enable. What that allows for is the creation of a ramp of the low pass and high pass, so that we can draw in the shapes for changing this automation. Now I expanded this. This is the one-time expand, and each one of these can be expanded by clicking on the plus. I really don't want volume, so I'm going to get rid of volume, and I don't really want pan, and I don't want mute. I just want to look at the EQ low pass and high pass frequency. So if I hold down the command key in the Smart Tool, it creates the breakpoint creation by putting a little finger like that, and I'm just creating dots, and you'll notice that the dots are going in these convenient spots, and you can see they're exactly on top of each other, and that's because I've got it in grid mode. I'm going to put one in the middle here somewhat, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull this all the way up to the top like that, and do the same thing down here. So if I put my cursor right here and I go ahead and play back, watch what happens here. Alright, you get the idea. Now it's a very slow pace, and if you're thinking about and having worked on the Teenage Dream, you know that this frequency sweep takes place much quicker than that. So this shape is going to be way too long. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and command right bracket, spread that out a little bit. I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and move this over. I'm just going to create a much sharper scenario here. Alright, let's see what the pace of that looks like. Very nice, very nice. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and change the shape of these a little bit so you can see how moving this would just change the shape of this pass band. All right, you can see on the way up it had a much tighter shape on the top, and that'll give you a tighter sweep as you're coming across a frequency. So that offset is 2 of these grid positions. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over 2 grid positions. I'm going to move this over 2 grid positions as well. Let's take a look at what that looks like. All right, you can see that it drastically changed that, not necessarily for the better. In fact, I'm probably thinking I liked where it was before, and maybe put this out here like this. All right, that's working pretty well for me. Okay, so the next thing that I want to take a look at is adding an air chorus to that. And once again, I'm going to hold the shift key down, click this, and I'm going to go down to modulation, air chorus stereo. The reason I'm holding the shift key down is each time I open up a new plug-in insert, it'll keep the other ones that are already open instead of replacing them with the newly created one. That way I can kind of keep everything up in front of me. So you can play around with the sound of these different parameters. The rate will give you the speed at which it's oscillating. The feedback is how often you'll hear more of a pulsing sound as you add a little bit more feedback in there. Depth is going to give you a little bit more. Once again, it's going to be bumping back and forth a little bit. The sine wave is the default. Triangle, you'll hear it pulsing back and forth to the left and right ears, a little bit more sharp as it spins to the left and right. And of course, mix is going to give you more of the effect or less. I'm going to keep it on sine wave. I'm actually going to go with pretty much the default settings, but you'll hear the difference as I'm playing this through. Okay, so you can hear just a little bit more effect on that. Gives it just a little bit more interest and depth. Next thing I wanted to show you is the link of the panning. So as it stands right now, we've got pan left 100%, pan right 100%. If we were to switch the mix window real quick, you'd see the same settings here. Put that on wide setting here. All right, now you're familiar with clicking on this to bring up this output fader. You can do the same thing from the edit window on the I/O by clicking right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've got this sitting up here like this, and I'm going to hit this. First of all, I'm going to pull this all the way to the left because I want to be able to pan left all the way to the right. Now if I hit the link button, when I move this, both of them will pan together. Without the link, I've got independent control. So I pop this over to the left, I push the link button, and I'm going to go ahead and automate. I'm going to do a real-time automation, meaning that it's actually going to be transporting and I'm going to make a change. In order to write the real-time automation, I need to put this into one of these different write modes. Before I write anything, I'm going to check my automation enable. That was a global command numeric 4. You can see I'm doing pan, which I'd like, and plugin is cool because I'm doing this already over here. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, command numeric 4. I'm going to put this into latch mode, and then I'm going to hit play. And as this cursor comes across, I'm going to make the pan hit the center point approximately at the center of this peak, and then continue to pan. Here it comes. Okay, That was pretty good. Not too bad. So now I'm going to take a look at the ramp, the automation ramp for pan. And let's see here. Yeah. Take a look at that. And actually I'm going to do it down below here. I wanted to do it down below here because I can get the pan left and right simultaneously, and it looks pretty good. I don't need this, and I don't need that yet. Notice how as I pulled that across, it created all these breakpoints, and I really don't need all of those. In fact, all I really need is the top and the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those. Now we have a straight across pan, and this was just a little bit late, so I'm pulling this over like that. And this was a little bit, if I go ahead and delete this holding the Option key down, that looks pretty good now. Alright, so we've got a pan, and we'll go ahead and take a look at that. You can see the panning coming across here. Alright, and then you'll notice that as we're sitting here, whether we're sitting over here, there's this constant rumble of low frequency, because even though we have this all the way over to the left, that's the lowest is going right here is 120 hertz. So I need to automate some volume to get rid of anything prior and after this event. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up our volume control. And I'm going to first of all start with this being at 0. Now, no automation has been written into the volume, and because of that, I'm able to move this freely, and you can see it moves all the way across the entire session. So I'm pulling this down, and I'm going to go ahead and Command click in Smart Tool, as you can see here. And I'm going to Command click over here, and I'm going to Command click there. Bring the volume way up, and you can see the gain is at 3.1 max. I'm going to go all the way up to, I want it to max out exactly the same place as the center of the sweep. Now I can tell just from having played around with this that as the volume's coming up, the volume's going to be a little low in here to hear this part of the sweep. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple more breakpoints and kind of change the shape of this a little bit. Alright, let's see what that looks like. Alright, since the event really finishes up here, there's no sense in having this hanging out so long. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this over. And that looks like we finished all that nicely. This just kind of looks a little dirty to me, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that, get rid of that. I'm holding the Option key down, by the way. And I'm going to pull this over so that we have a 90-degree hit on that. Now that looks good. So what I'm going to do now is, what I should have done before I got this all tidy, is to see how this event actually times out against the music. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in that Katy Perry track, Teenage Dream. Command Shift I on that. Done. And it's going to be a new track. I would have liked to had it. Oh, it'll work. That's fine. Okay, good. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and mute this for a while, for a second. I'm going to find that spot where the cymbal swish is. Okay, so it looks like it takes place right about here. Maybe it's here. Pretty much there. So this is where we want to do the peak. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit a marker on that. That's hitting the Enter key over there. Marker. hit OK, and that puts a yellow line on that. It'll give me a reference of where to line these things up here. So I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to highlight it, and then my nudge factor right now is in half note, so I really want to move the sucker pretty quickly, so I'm going to put this in 1 bar, and each time I'm hitting this, it's moving it back an entire bar. Okay, look at that, I just got lucky. It lined up pretty nicely. Okay, now the question is the pacing and the timing of this coming up. How's that going to work with the music? And I can tell you right now, I only want this thing to take place from here to about here, and the fact that it's starting a little bit sooner, and I probably want it to finish up sooner. So anyway, this whole thing is probably going to be too wide, and we're just going to have to adjust it. But let's just listen.
Dance until we die, you and I will be young for.
It would help if I'd unmute that.
Dance until we die, you and I will be young forever. You make me feel like I'm living a teenage dream. The way you turn me on, I can't.
Okay, I mean, for the purpose of just getting this to work, that actually was fine. If we wanted to play around with it, we could bring this in maybe a couple clicks, bring this in a couple clicks. Just everything, move everything over a couple clicks. And notice it's clicking because I have it in grid mode. All right, and the pace out was okay, I think. Let's listen to that.
Till we die, you and I will be young forever. You make me feel like I'm living a teenage dream. The way you turn me on, I can't sleep.
All right, so we have one successful event right there. Now, the only thing we need to do now is go ahead and paste. I'm going to get rid of this. Paste that into the other places that this takes place. And I think there's one here. So visually, so I hit the marker to kind of mark off a new spot. I'm going to go ahead and I can do quick math on this and take a look. This actually is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots before that. If I selected this whole area, and it looks like I'm going to have to go a little wider if I include all of the dots. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots in front of the yellow line. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I put the cursor right there and I do Command V, I should have grabbed this first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Copy. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Paste. Bingo. Peaks right on it. All right, listening.
Until we die, you and I will be young forever. You make me feel like I'm living a teenage dream.
All right. There's another one over here. All right, so this is pretty close to it right here. Go ahead and put a marker on that. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cool. There you have it. That completes the frequency sweep for those 3 spots in that Teenage Dream example. Now, there's another part on there that says there should be an automated swish swash of reverb. So what I'm looking at is adding reverb, shift, multi-channel reverb. I'm going to put a pretty healthy reverb time on this. That's got a 100% mix on it, so we don't want that. I'm going to bypass that.
Make me feel like I'm living. Make me feel like I'm living a teenage dream. The way you turn me on, I can't. Till we die, you and I will be young forever. You make me feel like I'm living a teen.
All right, without the Teenage Dream going, you can hear a little bit more reverb on there. All right, that's that.